Hi, I'm Narelle Todd from Get My Book Out There.
Hi, I'm Essie Smith, also known as Susan. I'm a New York Times USA Today bestselling author. So, Norel, what are we talking about today?
Well, I wanted to go through what I believe are the foundations for an author business. So, what's happening from my end is that I've opened up every month, I take in authors who want to learn how to create a sustainable author business, and I go through 9 pillars with them. But what I thought I would do today was just talk about the 3 pillars, which are the foundations of somebody who wants to be an author as like a long-term proposition. They're probably writing their passion books. And now I don't mean romance by that. I mean books that they're writing because it fulfills an innate
Yeah,
need in them. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's about their soul stories, those sorts of things. The stories that are inside you just have to tell. As so particularly for people who are writing their passion books rather than say writing to market where it is where they're following trends. They're both very valid business models, but what we're going to talk about is particularly relevant to passion writers writing about that.
Actually, this would, from what I know about it, it's like the foundations for any business.
Yes,
So while you're looking at
definitely.
it from an author perspective and from a passionate author, I should
Yes,
say, perspective, um, it's something that's kind of universal that you
it
you really
is.
need to know for any business.
Absolutely. You could literally take the principles that I go through and relate them to any business. Obviously, the words and the jargon and all that sort of stuff would change a little bit. But yes, I mean, business is business. We're all selling a widget of some kind. So those principles are the same. It just depends, what your widget is and who your audience is and all those sorts of things as to how we go about selling them. So the foundations of a business, there are three, and that is your mindset, your business, so your business plan, your business model, and then your business brand and your reader avatar. And I grouped those two things together, the reader avatar and the brand together, because I think they both feed in to each other. But
Mhm.
I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get there. So, the very first thing I think everybody needs in business, no matter what you are doing as your business, and whether you're a passionate writer or you're writing to market, is mindset. Being in business is a tough gig. And if you come in and you might say feel not confident, you could be a bit wishy-washy on the belief in yourself, those sorts of negative emotions are really going to drag you down. And
Well, if you're not sure exactly where you're going to go, you know,
yeah,
you don't have that clarity. You know you want to do this, but it's like, I want to do it, but where do I start? And once I start, where do I go?
yes.
It could be like a minefield.
Oh, that, absolutely. And definitely in any business, you're going to have peaks and troughs, and you need to be able to kind of sail those and
Mhm.
kind of stay on top. Not go down if you're feeling down, being able to recognize that that's a genuine feeling and it's okay, and that it will come up at the other side. So there's things you need to know about yourself and how you relate to stress and how you just organize yourself and how you perceive yourself and how you perceive your writing. Do you believe in your writing? Um, Definitely, when we first started working together, one of the things that stood out so clearly for me back in 2012 was your belief in your stories. You were like,
Yes,
these are good stories and they hit the mark. They talk about, family love, romantic love,
they
um,
connect,
yes, found
overcoming
family.
diversity.
Hmm. Yeah.
and that you don't always have to be strong. It's
Yes.
okay, if you want to cry or if you want to throw a temper tantrum. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody wants to do it. And sometimes you need to let that pressure off the pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that I loved about writing the stories is that I gave validation that it's okay to be like this. It's
Yeah.
okay to, get angry or to say, "Hey, I'm strong." It's all right to say and be confident in yourself. And
Uh-huh.
it's all right to joke about, tease yourself, to laugh at yourself, to laugh with others, not laugh at others, but laugh with others. And
Yes.
and the biggest thing is it's okay to want to escape from the world for a little while into a different one. And I think that's one of the things that I love about my stories is by the time you get done with them, you may have gone, like you said, up and down on those troughs, just like you will with your business.
Yes.
But in the end, everything's going to work out all right. And you can trust that it's going to work out all right.
Yeah. Yeah. And certainly with mindset, part of being in business is that you're going to need to do trial. Yeah, it's trial and error. So, but there's also like issues around perfectionism and, people not being able to like release stories because it's not perfect. And then they spend years, and this is their first book, they just spend
Yeah.
years and years make because it's never right. And just knowing and understanding that it's okay to put something out that's not 100%, um, that sometimes you just have to make that physical decision of, yes, I'm going to release the first book. It may not be perfect, but I'm going to get it out there. I'm going to start my second book, and then I'm going to keep on moving forward. I'm going to learn as I go. So that whole attitude around the belief that everything will work out, that you just need to keep moving, you need to actually take action. So all of these things come into the mindset pillar, and it enables having a really strong mindset enables you then to weather things when, say, books don't sell. It's not always going to be perfect selling season. And so when those things happen, you can have a look at all the things and to see, what's happening. And, you would look at, say, your book data, you would look at your book cover, the book blurb, all the usual things. Like, what tactics are you doing? All those sorts of things.
Mhm.
And when you take the emotion out of it, and it becomes more like an inquiry, and it's okay that my books aren't selling, but let me find out what I can about that so that I can get them to sell, rather than go into a deep dive of despair or sadness, or the world is against me, or the stores hate me, or that kind of negative cycling. That's not going to help anybody. And actually, by focusing on the negative, you actually draw more of that negativity towards you.
Mhm.
So, having a mindset that's one around inquiry and going, okay, I'm not happy with how business is going at the moment, but that's okay. Let me find out what I can do to make business turn itself around and bring in money again. So you need to come prepared in business to really stretch yourself. I reckon that business is the best personal development course that anybody can ever do, because you are going to grow like nothing else, running your own business. Oh my
I
goodness.
remember I remember something my husband said when he started his business 30 years ago. And he said, and this was advice that somebody told him. He said that there'll be some days that you'll give your business away you would want to give your business away for a nickel.
Yeah.
And he says other days you wouldn't sell it for $1 million. And I think for me, I bring the kind of attitude that I learned on the trail is you never give up on a bad day.
Yes. Yeah.
So, if you're having a bad day and you don't feel like you're selling and this, that, and the other, you can't give up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to
Never
you
make,
have to wait till that really good, good day, and then when you're having that really phenomenal day, then you can decide, do I want to do this anymore or not?
Yes.
And I think you're going to be in a better mindset.
Absolutely. Like it, you never, what is it? You never make a major decision on a bad day. So just take a breath and step back. Yes. So mindset definitely, I believe, is the most important pillar that anyone can have in business, particularly as an author. You have so many competing priorities, not just around running your business, but then also your books. I mean, there's such a personal experience for so many
Yeah.
authors. It's their heart and soul, and it's like sending a creation out there. So there's the pressure and the feeling of perhaps not being worthy, for some people. And so when you release books, they're not so confident about it. And this is where when you have a really strong, healthy mindset and you know that your book is as good as it can be.
Yes.
Yeah. And I
And I
swear, as you find, as soon as you hit publish, there will be at least one typo somewhere.
and it'll be the first thing that you look at, and then it'll be like, and I remember when that, when that happens. And in fact, I read through my whole series, which I was really reluctant to do because, like you said, it's that you're afraid to put it out there because you're afraid it's not going to be very good. And I remember I told you I finally got the nerve up and I just reread every single one of my series. And I ended up messaging you saying, "Oh my God, this is so good. I can't believe I wrote this."
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and so when you do that, and it's like, was there maybe a missing quotation mark or an extra period somewhere, or you know, and it's like it didn't detract from the story.
Yes.
And it's like, I was just so excited that I fell in love with the story. I couldn't wait to get to the next one. And it was like, to me, it just makes it that's human.
Yeah.
A human wrote this. This was made with love. So if there's a little mistake in there, that's part of my personality.
That's a good way to look at it.
So it's like,
Yeah.
it's a human content, and
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it's just, and those little idiosyncrasies that are in there, that's who I am.
Yes.
I don't have a house, I have a home, and it looks like it's been lived in. Is it clean? Yes, you'll have a clean bed, a clean kitchen, a clean bathroom. But, there's gonna be stuff laying around. And that's gonna be what your business is like, it's gonna be a little bit of that clutter all around. And, you often told us 80% done is better than none.
Yeah.
And, for me, I look at that and then I always say, whatever book I write, then my personal goal is to make the next book I write better than the last one. So
Yeah.
every single book I write and release, I try to make better than the last one that I wrote.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah. I
and I
love that.
see a lot of my um, I'm very reflective on the stories that I've written, but then I'm also reflective on the business that goes behind it just as deeply. And I think the mindset that you've taught in your courses and your pillars has just been, so phenomenal in getting you to peel back that surface of who you are and the way you think. And it's not negative, it's personal growth. It's saying, these are all the things you're doing right. So let's improve on those.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if you've got these tendencies like I do to have like a lot of self-doubt or to not be able to quiet my mind, they're showing you techniques to say, you need this and it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay to have
Yeah.
that quiet time.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of what, I'm not having somebody else say, oh, you need to quiet your voice. And it's like, well, how do I do that? This is like a non-intrusive way of reflecting on myself, saying, no, I need this. If I
Yeah.
want to become a better person, I need to learn how to do this. And so I'm
Yeah.
more likely to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So some of the things that you can do, you may be thinking, well, how do I work this mindset into what I do every day? So here's a few tips. Journaling can be a really good one. And so, say if there are authors like yourself who the characters are always talking and it's just always busy in your brain, journaling is a great way for you just to quieten that down. And it's not necessary, you're not journaling to capture story ideas, firstly. You're journaling to capture the other stuff that's going on in there. So it's the conversations around the self-doubt, the questions
Mhm,
about should I be doing this, or what will people think, or will I, is this stupid, or
mhm,
I'm too old to do this, I'm too young to do this, I don't have enough time, or all these sorts of things that are going on. When you journal them, write them down, and actually handwrite them down, it just brings about a change within your own physiology and your own psychology as well, because you're actually getting the stuff out of your head. And in some cases, just by expressing it and getting it out into the light, it actually does away with it. Or it brings some stuff out that you may not have been aware of. And you'll be like, that's why I've been doing this or doing that. Or we go, oh, yeah, okay. And then you, of course, get to decide if you do anything about that or not. And you may decide not to, you may decide to do something
mhm,
else. So journaling's really effective, definitely. Another thing that people can do is meditations. There's all sorts of stuff out there. I've got some meditations on my YouTube channel, so you can listen to those for free. Uh, and another thing that you can also do is celebrate. So, um, ideally, 3 times a day. So, in the morning when you wake up, a celebration about something, get something at midday, and then something before you go to bed at night. It really is just congratulating yourself on all the things that you've done.
mhm,
Because being typical humans, we are very good at looking at the things we didn't do or what we failed to do or all the ways we might have stuffed up in the day. So this is really turning that around. And instead you're looking at, well, what were 3 things that you did today, that you can celebrate, that were great, that were wonderful. Some days that may be the fact that you got out of bed. We've all had those days. Or it could be that you've done something wonderful at work, or that your book sold, or somebody gave you a really great review, or you connected with a really awesome author and you're going to do some collaboration with. These are all things that are worthy of being written down as a celebration, but also as a way to then future-proof your mindset, because you now have this list
mhm,
of wins that you've had in the day, 3 things that you've had in the day. Pretty soon that's going to add up. And you're going to have a fairly long list of all these things that you did that you were wonderful at and that you did great things. Reading through that on a down day will lift your spirits and it will show you the other side. When you're down in the doldrums, reading that stuff is going to give you the perspective to then balance yourself back out again. And that's what we're looking for, is the balance part of things. So there's 3 things that you can go do for mindset.
So looking at the second thing that you
Yes,
were talking
business
about.
planning. Ooh, I like business planning because there's maths involved. True, true story. I used to tell myself for years that I was no good at maths or math. And every time I said that, I wasn't very good at math. And yet I'm really good at it. I don't say that anymore. But I just think it's interesting that the language even we use about different things. So if you're saying to yourself, I'm not good at a business plan, you'll be fine. There are so many different ways to do a business plan. And the
Mhm,
key is to find the business plan that works for how your brain works. So we all do things differently. We all look at things differently. there are some common themes that are going to come through in a business plan, no matter which one decide to go with. Um, I love one at the moment. It's a one-page marketing plan, and I think you can do the same with a one-page business plan. Really, that's really all you
Mhm.
need. Um, there are business plans out there where you're doing SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, and you know, what's the other one? I can't even think what the O and the T is, but anyway, don't even worry about doing them. Like the SWOT analysis. I think what's happened is a lot of small businesses have adopted a corporate way of doing things,
Mhm.
and a corporate business has personnel and the people there and access to resources that we don't have as a small business. So it's
Yes.
easy for them to put together these complicated business plans. And having come out of 20 or more years in corporate, I know that mostly we used to put them together and then we'd all congratulate ourselves and then everybody just went off and did their own thing anyway.
Mhm.
So,
Well, and the thing is that you're not as likely to go back and revisit that a written business plan. Now, I'll have to tell you this little story.
mhm,
So, I have my father-in-law, or not my father-in-law, my daughter-in-law's father, is really big into business and corporate and this, that, and the other. And so I met him when, they first got married, right after, not long after I started writing. And he asked me, he came over for Christmas dinner, and he goes, "Do you have a business plan?" And I shocked him by saying, "Yes, I do." And I had the written out one. And he says, "Well, do you mind if I look at it?" And I said, "No, not at all." And so I thought it was funny because he sat there and he opened up my little binder where I had written, out my business plan, and he was grading me A, B, C, D, F. And so, and I told him, I said, it's a work in progress. To me, a business plan is always kind of a work in
yes,
progress. But I did not find that writing all of that stuff out, I just felt like I was just filling in a form. So I didn't feel like it was really something that I could use. So it was funny as he was going through, and then he turned the page, and I had a visual business plan because I'm a visual person. And I wanted something to take all of that written stuff and I wanted to put it in a visual format that I could hang up and I could look at every day to give me that motivation
yeah,
as to where I'm at now, where I want to be, a year from now. I think I had it like 6 months, a year, 3 year, and 5 year.
mhm.
And so I did that out, and it was in that visual thing. And he, he's like, and then he turns and he looks at it, and he looked at me, and he looked at it, and he looked back at me, and he says, "Would you consider having any partners?" And so I felt pretty good about that. And I take this business plan, and I would say probably about every quarter, I take a look at it now, and I have the one that I originally started with and the one that I've got now, and it's amazing. Um, you know, I like that I could change it at the speed of thought if I needed to,
Yes,
and say this is no longer relevant to me or to where I want my business to go. But I'm amazed at being able to say done, 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 done. You know, and I'm seeing where I envision when I started in 2012 and how much I've accomplished
yeah,
in a very short period of time.
yes,
And, and by being able to tweak it and change it and say, okay, I've got this already set up. Now, where can I take this to build upon it? And where can I go?
yeah,
And it's just so motivating and invigorating. And like you said, doing that, the list,
Mm-hmm.
And when you read it back to yourself, you realize, you're thinking, oh, I'm not doing anything. My business isn't doing anything. And then you look at it and you think, holy crap, I've done all that.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
so this is why I think a business plan, especially for me, the visual one, really made a huge difference.
Yeah. So let's to do a simple plan. So let's help those who may have never done a business plan before. Really, what it's the purpose of the business plan is to guide you. So it's in other words, it's going to put blinkers on and you are going to put on there where you want to be. I would suggest to you to do it in 3-month blocks. And so, but we're going to start at the end and work our way backwards. So by that, for the year, I want you to say, would you like to achieve in 1 year's time? Write down 3 things because that's typically about what you would be able to
Mhm.
achieve anyway. So it could be that you want to grow your email list to a certain size. You might want to sell a certain number of books. You might want to expand into audio or into another language. Whatever those 3 things are, write down what they are. So that's your year out, your 3 things that you would like to do. Now come back and we're going to start now at this 3-month period. What are the steps that you need to take that will get you to those year-end goals or 1-year goals?
And
And
make
that's
them
where,
quantitative.
yes. So you would then say, okay, so my goal is I want an email list of 40,000 in a year. This first 3 months, as I start out, let's say that I will go for 10,000 emails. And okay, how am I going to get my 10,000 emails? And then you would write down all the things. You're going to join promotions. You're going to join, obviously, email builders. You're going to do book funnel builders, those sorts of things.
You're going to have a
And
newsletter sign up on your website.
yes, exactly.
Something as simple as that.
You're going to email your people who come onto your list and you're going to be engaging with them. So there you can see you've probably got at least 5 or 6 things that you're going to be doing in the first 3 months to start you heading towards your 40,000 12-month goal. And you're just going to do that every 3 months. You're going to go, okay, what are the things I need to do now for my next 3 months to get me further along? You're going to see, well, did I reach my goal of 10,000 email addresses in the first 3 months? Yes or no? If I didn't, what what were the things that got in the way? What were the roadblocks? How can I overcome them in the next 3 months? What's the next figure I'm going to aim for? It could be 10,000 again because maybe you didn't make it in the first 3 months. That's okay. It's all about momentum and moving forward. So let's say you put down you want to get 15,000 people on your list. So you now are going to have to, you're now looking for another 5,000 people to add to your list. And you're going to do that every 3 months. And then you're going to be at the end of your 12 months and you'll be able to assess how did you go, on this particular thing. And what the beauty of doing it like that is it's manageable. It's adaptable because we all know that the book industry, well, any industry, it's not just publishing, but any industry these days change at the speed of light. So we need to be able to
Mhm.
change with that. We need to be able to adapt. And you're going to be busy doing other things in your business as well as aiming for these particular 3 goals. So you need to allow for time and all sorts of things to get in your way.
Resources and
Yeah.
research and
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. There's going to be cost involved in doing the newsletter builders and the email
Mhm.
builders and those sorts of things. So money could be an issue for you.
Mhm.
So yeah, resources, time, money, people. All of these things will come into play. So the beauty of doing the 3-month block is that it allows you to go, okay, in my first 3 months, I may not have money to do a builder. So what I can do are the free book funnel builders and connect with other authors. I can reach out to other
Mhm.
authors and do that. You've now sold some books, so in your next 3 months, you can now put some money towards going into professional email
Mm-hmm.
builders. And it just, by chunking it down, instead of looking at things as a year, it just looks too long a time frame.
Yes.
And it also makes us a bit lazy because we can also go, well, I've got a year to do that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably most people are like me. When I was at uni, there was a lot of late night just before the exam or the assignment, a lot of work and study going on. We're the same in our business. So if we set a year goal and worked on it as a yearly basis, we are more than likely to be doing the bulk of the work in the last 3 months to try and achieve what we set out to do. By breaking it down into 3 months, we actually put some time pressure on ourselves, which is not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily a bad thing because often that's part of the motivation to get things done. So,
Yeah. A deadline.
yes, yeah. Otherwise, it's all fancy free, we're fine. And the
Yes.
last 3 months, we panic. But when you break it into a 3 month goal, you give yourself that deadline, you give yourself that, like, it's almost that bit of tension. And that's what helps you then take the action to keep moving forward. But you can also see the progress you're making
Mhm.
when it's a
That's what I
three
was gonna.
month. Yeah.
I think it gives you a little more motivation because
Mm.
you're seeing that little pea starting to build into a larger snowball.
Yes.
And that's what it starts out as, is, maybe even smaller than pea, more like a grain of sand at
Yeah.
first. And it feels like that grain of sand. But over time, it builds and builds and builds until you got this beautiful pearl.
Yes.
And that pearl is, you know, the fact that you've achieved your goal by the end and you get to see that, oh, I actually did this.
Yes. I remember working with a client and she was just starting out. She had a couple of books out, but she had no list. And I said to her, she had put down, I think she was striving for like 100 email signups in the first 3 months. And so I gave her a bit of a push and I said, well, why don't you make that 1,000? And she did not believe that that was possible because she had never done those things I had just spoken about. And so she didn't know, she was expecting she had to go around to her friends and family and get them all to sign up. And she's like, I don't know that many people. I'm like, no, 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 there are tactics that you can use to increase. So not only, and this is where the mindset then comes into your business plan, um, where when you come with the attitude of, okay, I'll give it a try, which is what she did. And I still remember to this day her huge celebration when she came to our meeting, one of our mastermind meetings, and she said, I've got 350 people from one newsletter builder. And I wrote to them all, and they opened it up, and I had, a really good open
And
rate, and she was just so excited by that. And that's the beauty of combining your mindset with your business
Mhm.
plan, having that goal, staying focused on it, and then taking action for it. So I
Mhm.
still remember. Anyway, that was a good moment with her. It was pretty good.
So
And then
now we're looking at the third thing.
yes, our third one is it's a bit of a combo, and that is defining your reader avatar and working out your branding. So let me first talk about the reader avatar. So if you don't know what an avatar is, think of it as your ideal reader. So this would be who's the person, if you were to have the ideal person read your books, describe that person to me. So, it could be gender, attitude, where they work, the kind of music they like, what other books they like to read, other authors they like to read, where do they go on holidays? Do they like country music or, are they into hip hop or all these kind of, some are demographics, some are characteristics, um, some are psychological perspectives of the world. All of these things come together to make up your ideal reader. And the
Mhm.
more we can know who our reader is, the easier it is then to create content because we are creating content for someone. instead of a vague, nebulous, readers, you now are
Shadowy
going,
figure.
yes, you're now going, okay, I'm creating my content for Kat. That
Mhm.
happens to be my author avatar. Her name is Kat. Um, and actually have a picture here of her on my desk. So whenever I write content or create content, I look at her and I know, that this is, let me just see if I can get it without breaking anything. Um, that this is, so there she is. This is Kat. She's out of focus. Sorry about that. But she's at a book signing and she's got books down here that she's written, and she's happy. She's of a certain age group because I like working with that age group, and she's a woman. And so when I go to create something and write something, that's who I'm thinking of. So it becomes a more personal experience when you're creating your marketing and um, when you're putting
Right.
together promos and things like that.
I have a question.
Hmm.
Is it weird when I'm writing that I'm actually thinking about myself, but I'm thinking of myself as the reader? And
Yeah.
because to me, I'm writing the stories that I love to read.
Yes. Yeah. And
And
that's
I think,
often the case with passion or passionate writers, that they are their ideal reader. That's why they're writing their books, because they are books they wanted to read and they couldn't find. So
mhm.
they often tell the stories they want to read. So, yes, when you go through the discovery process for finding out who your ideal reader is or your reader avatar, you often will circle back around and you'll suddenly go, oh, that's me. I've just described me. So that's
I'm not
perfectly
saying
okay if that's the case.
put a mirror there so that every time I look up, I see myself, because then I think, oh my God, that's when the negative, oh, I need to do my hair, I need to do this, that, and the other. But what you said is so important, because I remember the motivation for me to write my very first book was the fact, I was, I guess I was going through what I call my period of rebellion, where I just wanted to go to work, and then I came home and I just wanted to escape somewhere else. And so I was reading a lot, but I was getting really, really frustrated because I couldn't find, one, the stories that I wanted to read, and two, the type of characters I wanted to read. You know, um, a lot of the stories tend to make the woman, oh, she's got to be rescued, or she's always being rescued, and I'm thinking, or they would make her the woman where she was so dislikable that it was like, you know what, just kill her off. I don't care, type thing. I wanted that perfect balance, and the
Mm,
same thing with the males, usually they were just so macho, they didn't, very arrogant, very womanizer type thing. And I wanted, those weren't the guys that I find attractive. I find attractive men like my dad, who was an awesome father, who cared about his wife, who cared about his kids, who, was a very strong person, was very athletic when, he was younger. And, he did all of these mountain climbing, and had a wonderful sense of humor. But he was also very protective. And, and while he couldn't cook anything but fried hot dogs, he would try. And he didn't mind cleaning up the kitchen afterwards, because
uh,
my mom was the wonderful cook. So, if she cooked, we grew up saying, if you cook, you don't clean. So she would cook dinner, and then she'd get to go sit down and we would do all the cleaning. So I wanted, guys that were like that weren't jerks, I don't want to date a jerk. I don't want to fall in love with a jerk, you know? And so exactly what you said, when my husband was walking back and forth and said I needed to get a hobby, um, I was like, well, let me write the stories that I want to read. Let
Mm,
me write the kind of characters that I want to read about, women that are strong and independent, but they're partners, and guys that are strong and independent, but you know what? They're not ashamed if they have emotions, or if they love someone and that person's hurting, that they may cry. To them it's a strength. So that's that's what motivated me to write.
yeah,
And I think that's one of the things, again, that my readers connect with in my stories, because these are the kind of characters they see the women in themselves, strong but vulnerable. They see the guys and either their spouses or their fathers or the people, the guys that they want to meet, and that they're strong and protective, but they're also vulnerable themselves, and they're not
yeah,
afraid to say, I love you, I care about you, I'm gonna protect you if somebody tries to harm you.
yeah,
So
yeah. Very much
mm,
so. You'll find that typically there are some similarities there. Now, by creating a reader avatar, it doesn't mean to say that you are only going to attract those types of people and that you're
yeah.
actually cutting yourself off from everyone else. It doesn't mean that. It's just that you're creating your messaging to this particular
Good
person or description.
person.
There, other people are going to read your books as well. So don't fear
Yes.
about that. But you do need to focus on your reader avatar
Yeah.
so that you can be specific with your messaging. Otherwise, you're just writing stuff that doesn't actually end up appealing to anybody because it's so
Mm,
generic. So understand who your reader is, what sorts of things do they enjoy doing, those sorts of things. Knowing that's going to help you in things like your social media posts, what to write about, um, what to talk about in your newsletters, what to even, how to do your Facebook ads or
mhm,
other ads. So this one is a very important one in understanding who it is your books are for. And it also then helps you work out your branding. So
mhm,
your branding as an author typically is a personal brand because it's you as the author. And it's not necessarily a business that you are going to be branding. You're going to be branding you. People will connect with you as an author. Readers love to meet their authors. They want to, know people in person. They go to book conventions for that very reason, to meet their author. So build then your brand around you. So what makes
mhm.
you unique? What makes you special? What sorts of things do you like about yourself? Even what do you not like about yourself? Because that could be interesting too. What are the things you hate? What are the things that you like? Talk about those sorts of things when you're out and about in your social media. Your social media should never be just about buy my book. This is where you slip in, your branding stuff. So it is where you talk about yourself, and it might be the fact that you love a good chocolate eclair. And then, you might share another day that you actually hate green frogs and freak out whenever there's a green frog anywhere near you. And, you not that I'm being personal here or anything, but I'm a 60-year-old woman and a green frog will make me run a mile.
And I have a husband who won't clean out the fountain because there's tadpoles in there, and he doesn't want to disturb the tadpoles.
He's so gross. So, but they're the
But he
things that,
saved you.
yes,
He
he
saved you
did.
from that frog.
He did. These are the things, though, it's these kind of things that make us interesting as people. And that's all part of what your brand is. It's something that distinguishes you from someone else. And so you do need to kind of let people in a little bit, show who you are. What sorts of things do you love? Part of my branding is the colors that I use are red and gray, a dark gray. Um, they're my favorite colors. So I use them. Um, Probably so many people have said that the red is not the best color to use because it's too in your face. And I'm like, I like it, I'm keeping it. So there will be,
Yeah.
there will be some of that that'll go on, and there'll be some other stuff where you will take the wisdom of other people, but your brand is all about you stating what sorts of things are you willing to talk about? What's your perspective on certain things? Are you going to talk about, you know, um, events that are happening in the world? Are you going to talk about politics? Are you going to talk about religion? Are you going to talk about sex, which tend to be the three things that we're all told not to talk about? This is your business, so you get to define what you talk about, and this all
Hmm.
becomes part of your branding then. Some people are very open about, say, their politics. Other people don't mention it. Neither one is right or wrong. This is, but you need to be consistent in what you
And it
do.
needs,
And
yeah.
this is where the branding comes in, and you're like, I don't feel comfortable talking about whatever a topic is. Um, so my decision is that I'm not going to talk about this, but I will share with people the fact that frogs freak me out. I will share that, I'm addicted to coffee with ice blocks in it, and I love traveling, and Iceland is my totem country, if there is such a thing. Um, but there will be some things that I don't talk about or don't mention. Um, but that's a very purposeful decision. And this is where in your brand you get to make those decisions as well and say,
Hmm.
this is what I want to put out there. Um, and then you're consistent with that approach. So you will continue to talk about the things that you want to talk about. You're going to connect with your ideal reader, and you've got your brand and you've got your ideal reader, and they're all working in together. And you'll start to see that you'll um, start talking about things that interest you, but also then things that interest your reader. And so you get this kind of really beautiful mix of relationship building. This is how we do it.
Well, I know, like with me, it's definitely nature. I think, everything is, this month I've the milkweed and the oh, what are they called? I can't think of them right now, but they're blooming. And so they're like butterfly magnets. And the
Oh, yes.
monarchs, we're really into monarchs right now. So I've been taking photos of the caterpillars that are emerging and the butterflies that have been flying around. So, and then of course we have the deer with the baby fawns, and so I'm very much into to doing, flowers and nature, and the occasional animals that I can get a good shot of. So it's, but and the stars, Steve does the astronomy, astrophotography. So I have a lot about, the beautiful photos that he takes. And it goes perfect with my stories because I do primarily write either stories that are sci-fi in nature or have a certain action adventure that tend to, gravitate sometimes into, the forest and hiking. And I bring a lot of those experiences of having lived in the woods for 4.5 months on the trail.
Hmm. Yeah.
But, all those years of growing up, camping and being out in nature. And it's just something that I find very peaceful, and staring at the stars, and
Uh-huh.
always wondering what's up there, what's out there, are we alone? That
Yes.
type of question.
Yeah.
So and that's with my colors. My colors, are the gold, the red, and the black. And those are my primary colors. And if you look at it, they pretty much are all space colors, but I find them very soothing. And then
Yeah.
my logo, of course, is my initial in the shape of a dragon with flames.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So have a look at these three things in your own business.
Yes.
We've given you some ideas for how to work with your mindset to really just make that really strong and resilient. giving you some ideas for your business plan on how you can just create a 3-month quick thing. Just needs to be a 1-pager, nothing too much, but it gives you still the focus that you need. And then we've looked at your brand and your reader avatar. These things all together are going to give you a really strong foundation, and that feeds into all the other things that you're going to do in your business, rather than either not having them or doing all the other things and then going, oh, I probably should have done a
Well,
business plan.
you have to have a good foundation, because without that,
Yes,
everything above that you build will come tumbling down if you're not
it
careful.
will.
Or
It
at
will.
least it'll be wobbly. It won't go through the ebbs and, the storms.
Yes.
Basically, it will not go through the storms, the hurricanes
Yeah.
that will occasionally pop up in your business. And those are the days you want to give it away for a nickel.
Definitely.
But, with that
Definitely.
strong foundation, then, you're going to see that success and
Yeah.
long term. And that's what, if you really enjoy what you're doing, um, that's what you're looking for, is a long term.
Yes. Yeah. Do a bit of work now to get that foundation in place, and then it's so much easier to scale your business. Um, if you've got the
Okay.
foundation, it's much harder
All
otherwise.
right. So another question. If they want to go through and really get a deep dive into all of this,
Uh-huh.
where can they go to learn more about these pillars and how they can build their foundation? Where can they go?
Yeah. So I'll pop a link in the notes so that they can go there. Um, and if I'm clever enough, I'll put it on the screen as well. But getmybookouthere.com and /learn. If you go there, you'll see all the things, and have a look for the Your Signature Get My Book Out There marketing system. This is the one that where I go through with you and work with you really closely week by week to help you build this foundation, and then all the other bits that you need to run a really successful business and a fun business.
And great, insightful groups.
Yes.
You'll meet a lot of authors who have, no, none of us are, you know, it doesn't matter what level you're at, we're all learning something. And I think
Mm,
that's what I really, really enjoy. And having that safe environment.
yeah.
There's no bickering or any of the, type stuff.
Yes.
It's all boosting you up and promoting you, and really getting in there and wanting to see you success, and then cheering you on as you
Yeah,
get it.
definitely.
That's
Definitely.
what I love,
Yes.
is the cheering,
Yes. So
because
there's
being an author,
authors. Yeah.
it could be a very lonely place.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. There's authors in there who have got like 3 books out, and then there's yourself over 100. So there's a
Yes.
wide spectrum, even wide spectrum of genres. We've got just about every fiction genre,
And nonfiction.
covered in there.
There's a couple of nonfiction in there.
Mm, yeah, yeah,
Pauline Barr
mm,
Jones has an
yeah,
excellent book out,
yeah,
talking about her journey over the last 25 years as an author.
yeah. It's a good book, that one. I'll pop that one in the links too, because it's such a good book. Okay, well, that's enough about that. Um, Come say hello if it's something you're interested in. Definitely, drop me a DM, and I'll get it back in touch.
Well, thank you. And I hope
Oh,
everyone
you're
has a
welcome.
wonderful day.
Yes, definitely. Bye.
Bye.